Have you ever stopped to think how sometimes the coolest sounds, the really groundbreaking ones in music, they don't come from perfect, clean audio. Sometimes they come from deliberately breaking things
Yeah.
or, well, digitally degrading them to make something totally new.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
It really is. And today, our exploration is going to focus right on a piece of gear that totally mastered this art form, the Red Panda Bitmap.
Ah, the bitmap. A classic.
Exactly. So we're going to take a bit of a journey here, unpack how this specific pedal brought that power of like studio-level digital destruction, the kind that used to be locked away in expensive studios, right down to a musician's feet.
Right.
Our mission really is to figure out not just what it does, but how it's designed, its evolution, and its surprising impact made a real space for itself. It made these wild textures playable.
And for you, our listener, maybe you're thinking, okay, another guitar pedal. But this deep dive, it's more than that. It's a really great case study in something bigger. Like how technical limits or even, intentional mistakes can actually become huge artistic pluses. It's a fantastic example of how a niche thing from a small company can set a new bar for everyone. And maybe most importantly, we'll get into what bit crushing really means for sound design today. It's not just noise, it's expression.
That's a great way to put it. It makes you think, who looks at a digital glitch and goes, yeah, that's music. So, okay, let's peel this back. Where did this idea even come from?
Well, it starts in Detroit, Michigan, with a company called Red Panda Lab.
Red Panda.
Right.
Right. They're not your typical pedal company, are they? They're known for being pretty experimental.
Definitely. They've built this whole reputation on pushing boundaries, making these really interesting, sometimes kind of mind-bending digital effects, stuff like the raster, the particle, the tensor.
Yeah, those are definitely out there in a good way.
Yeah.
And the founder, Kurt Mallowan, he's kind of the brain behind that adventurous approach.
That's right. Kurt wasn't just trying to build effects pedals. He was, I think, trying to redefine what digital could sound like. Back then, a lot of digital gear was aiming for pristine, perfect sound.
Total transparency.
Exactly. And Kurt and his team were like, well, what if we go the other way? The whole point of the original bitmap wasn't clean audio. It was the opposite. It was designed explicitly to give musicians studio-quality digital destruction in a stomp box. It wasn't about avoiding digital grit. It was about grabbing it, controlling it, and turning those, imperfections into a creative tool, making order from digital chaos, basically.
Like Sonic Rebellion. And man, what a range of chaos it gave you. When the bitmap first appeared, people noticed it wasn't just destructive. It was incredibly versatile.
Oh, absolutely.
You could dial in these subtle, almost warm lo-fi textures. Kind of like an old record,
That gentle warmth.
But then you could crank it and get these totally extreme, wild glitch sounds.
Yeah.
Like a supercomputer just beautifully falling apart. And the key thing was, it gave you hands-on control over bit depth, sample rate, filtering, the stuff you needed to make that chaos musical.
Right. And to really get why the bitmap was so special, we kind of need to look under the hood at how it works.
Okay, let's do it.
At its core, it uses two main types of digital degradation. And it's how they work together and how you control them. That's the magic. First up is bit depth reduction.
Okay, bit depth.
Think of bit depth like the number of colors a painter has. High bit depth, millions of colors, smooth gradients, lots of detail.
Right.
Low bit depth, maybe just black and white or a few basic colors. Stark. In audio, it's about dynamic range, the number of volume levels. The bitmap could take a signal from, say, 24 bits, which is pretty high fidelity, all the way down to just 1 bit.
Wow, 1 bit, that's rough.
It is. And that gives you that signature lo-fi, grainy, kind of distorted sound. Think old video games or early samplers. But the genius here was realizing that stripping away that digital perfection gave you this raw textural quality. It wasn't clean, but it had character, a sort of digital patina.
So you take away detail to find a different kind of vibe. Interesting. Right. What's the second ingredient in this destruction recipe?
The second big one is sample rate reduction. Sample rate is about how often you snapshot the audio signal per second.
Like frames per second in video.
Exactly like that. High frame rate, smooth motion, low frame rate, choppy. Lower the sample rate in audio, you lose information, and you get these very distinct artifacts. The big one is aliasing.
Aliasing. Yeah, technical.
It is, but think of the wagon wheel effect in old movies, where the wheel looks like it's spinning backwards.
Yeah, I know that.
That's because the camera isn't sampling the motion fast enough. Aliasing in audio is similar. Sample too slowly, and you create new frequencies that weren't there originally. Weird, sometimes harsh, dissonant frequencies. Those are the digital artifacts, the glitches, the weird pitch warp sounds, the digital squeaks and grinds. The bitmap creates these, but crucially, lets you play with them.
Okay, so bit reduction gives you grainy lo-fi. Sample rate reduction gives you glitchy, weird artifacts. Sounds like it could easily just be noise, not music. How did Red Panda make this something people actually wanted to use? How did they make the catastrophe beautiful?
That is the million-dollar question, right? And that's where the bitmap really stood out. Lots of things could reduce bits and sample rate. But Red Panda knew musicality needed more, so they added wavefolding.
Wavefolding, like on synths?
Precisely. It adds complexity by literally folding the sound waves' peaks back on themselves. Creates these rich synth-like overtones, and they added drive. Not just volume, but harmonic distortion, wave shaping. This let you get these really complex, almost analog-feeling tones out of it. Much more expressive than just raw digital grit.
So you could add richness to the brokenness.
Exactly. But maybe the most important part for taming the beast was the filter. It had a built-in resonant filter, not just a simple tone knob.
Right. Resonant means it can emphasize frequencies around the cutoff point.
You got it. So you could use it to smooth out those potentially harsh aliasing frequencies, make them blend better. Or you could crank the resonance and emphasize them, turn them into this screaming, controllable lead sound. That ability to sculpt the frequencies made it way more musical than other digital crushers at the time. It felt more like playing an instrument.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like they didn't just give you the chaos, they give you the tools to sculpt it. The filter turns it from potentially nasty noise into something expressive. That really is clever.
Yeah.
What were the actual knobs like on that first version, the V1?
Yeah, that hands-on feel was right there on the V1. Pretty straightforward, actually. You had freak for the sample rate, bits for the bit depth, filter for that essential resonant low-pass shaping, mix to blend your clean signal with the crushed sound, and volume. Simple knobs, direct control. You twisted something, you heard it immediately. No menu diving.
That sounds very playable.
Yeah.
So the V1 comes out around 2013, builds this rep for musical aliasing, gets a following.
Yeah.
But Red Panda, being Red Panda, didn't just stop there, right? They thought, okay, what's next?
Never content, those guys. They definitely listened to users and saw how technology was moving, and in 2019, bam, the Bitmap 2 arrived. And it wasn't just a tweak, it was a major evolution.
So what were the big leaps in the V2?
Huge leaps. First, stereo operation. Massive for immersive sounds, synth producers, anyone wanting a wider field.
Yeah, stereo's huge.
Then, maybe even bigger, MIDI and CV integration, plus expression pedal input. CV, control voltage, that's the language of modular synths.
Right, opens it up to a whole different world.
Totally. Suddenly, you could do real-time manipulation in ways you couldn't before. Imagine sweeping through glitch textures with an expression pedal, or syncing parameters perfectly with your sequencer via MIDI. You could get these insane real-time glitch sweeps. It made it part of a bigger system, not just a standalone effect.
Okay, that's serious integration. What else? Did adding all that complexity change the core sound or feel? Did it lose that V1 rawness?
That's a fair question. But they were smart about it. The core character, that musical aliasing, it was still there. They refined the DSP, tweaked algorithms, but the soul remained. What the new features did was make that soul more accessible and expressive, especially live.
So more control, not less character.
Exactly. Plus, they added proper preset storage. 4 on board, but 127 via MIDI. Game changer for live use or studio recall. No more frantic knob twisting between songs trying to find that sound again.
Oh yeah, presets are essential for some folks.
And it all came with a smoother interface, refined DSP. Just more user-friendly, more versatile, but still with that edge. Like taking a wild horse and teaching it dressage. Still powerful, just more controllable.
So, stepping back, what did all these upgrades mean for its place in the gear world?
Well, it really cemented the Bitmap 2's reputation. It became seen as one of the most flexible, most powerful bit crusher pedals out there, period. With the stereo, MIDI, presets, it put it right alongside high-end digital pedals from brands like Strymon or Maris. It showed that digital destruction could be sophisticated, deep, and thoughtfully designed. A serious tool for sound design.
It's interesting to see who ended up using it too, given how, well, destructive it can be.
Yeah, it's quite a diverse crowd, which is fascinating. You had your experimental guitarists, obviously noise, ambient shoegaze players, looking for those unique textures nobody else had.
People pushing boundaries.
Right. Then synth players absolutely loved it, especially integrating it into modular rigs with the CV and MIDI. It just slotted right in. And producers started using it not just on guitars, but as an outboard effect on drum machines, synths, samples, adding that lo-fi grit and character to tracks. A bit of a secret weapon.
Can you name names? Any specific artists that really show how it gets used?
Oh, sure. I think of someone like Nels Cline from Wilco. He's known for pushing effects into really extreme places, getting these totally alien sounds, or just injecting beautiful chaos. The bitmap fits right in
Yeah,
there.
imagine that.
Or Juan Alderete, amazing bassist, Mars Volta, and he runs pedals and effects. He uses the bitmap to get these super aggressive, almost synth-like bass tones, that digital growl that just cuts through everything.
Yeah.
These are players who need unique tools that react,
But it's not just for aggression, right? You mentioned shoegaze earlier.
Exactly. It's brilliant for that, too. Players inspired by, say, Kevin Shields use it to roughen up the edges of big reverb or delay trails.
Ah, okay. So instead of the clean decay.
You get this decay that kind of breaks up into this shimmering, glitchy digital haze. Adds this incredible texture and depth. Makes huge sounds feel more interesting, more organic somehow, even though it's digital grit. It's why people call it one of the definitive modern bit crushers. It balances that experimental edge with actual usability.
So looking at the bigger picture then, the bitmap wasn't just another cool sound. It kind of changed the game for this type of effect.
I think it really did. It set a new standard for bit crushing as something you could play, not just a static effect you slap on in your computer. Before the bitmap, getting these sounds often meant complex studio routing or pedals that were maybe novel but not super musical.
Right.
By including the wave folding, the drive, and especially that interactive filter and modulation, Red Panda made it way more musical, more expressive. It encouraged you to interact with the effect, to find those sweet spots where you're playing and the digital chaos met. It turned digital destruction into a real instrument.
What a cool story for a little effects box from Detroit. From that V1 in the early 2010s, the Red Panda bitmap really became this super influential tool. It brought that dynamic digital mangling out of the studio, put it on pedal boards, and it nailed that blend, subtle lo-fi warmth, all the way to crazy glitching, but always with that playable, almost analog feel.
Yeah, and the evolution to the bitmap too, with all the connectivity and presets just locked in its place. Experimental music, electronic stuff, modern guitar. It showed up everywhere. It really proved that thoughtfully designed digital errors aren't just noise. They can be a powerful source of artistry, finding the music in the machine's mistakes, almost.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener, to maybe chew on after we wrap up. If intentionally messing with digital signals, embracing those errors, can lead to whole new sonic worlds, what other kinds of degradation or imperfection in your own world, your creative work, your job, whatever, might actually be hiding untapped potential? What could you gain by looking at the flaws not as problems, but maybe as opportunities? Something to think about. Until next time, keep exploring.